The number one hack that YouTubers are using to keep their audience watching is so simple that it will blow your mind. Because the audience retention is the key element that will either make your video blow up or completely crash if you don't get it right. That's why I researched what the best scriptwriter and YouTubers are doing, and what I find completely changed the perspective I have on content creation. Yet it's so simple, anyone can do it. So I'm going to explain to you very simply what this is, and then give you the framework I come up with to implement that in your own videos. But before we do, I need to tell you that this video is part of a video series where I walk you through each and every step that you need to do in order to build great videos. At each video, we introduce a new thing so you can follow along and progress at your own pace. So if you're interested, go watch the video series from the beginning because we are already far ahead in the process. And for the other, let's get to the topic of today's video. Because I thought the most important thing in content creation was to retain people so they watch until the end. But I was wrong. Here's the hard truth. We are pretty bad at explaining and teaching other people. And apparently making educational content is mainly about teaching people. Go figure. So the quality of your video is vastly going to depend on how good of an educator you are. Making great video is about making it as easy as possible for people to follow and understand what you are explaining. It is about becoming a great educator, a great teacher, and a great coach. This is how you keep people engaged and interested, by being interesting and easy to follow. This is about teaching in a way that is effective to make their learning experience fun, interesting, and enjoyable. Because have you ever wondered how do we learn? What is the process that are happening in our mind when we are facing new information? Here's the deal. We already know a lot of information, and whether or not we believe it, our brain have a limited capacity to store information. Our memory is limited and need to be optimized. So in order to be efficient with our learning process, the brain has to come up with strategic and tactical solutions to optimize the space available. And those are at the core of how we learn. So you might have guessed it, we learn by association, by connection. We learn by connecting new information with information we already know. This is called learning by association. We create connection in our mind with concepts we already know and understand. This is a principle known as the Hebbian learning. When we learn something new, certain group of neurons fire together and the strength of their connection increase. So the key point is our memory works with association. We tend to remember things by linking them to things that we already know. But understanding this has a very strong implication in how we are going to build our content and convey the information. Because what experience do you wish to have when you are watching a video? One where you struggle to understand the information that are explaining to you, where you have to put a lot of effort to connect the information with something you already know, to try to understand, or the other where the information flow and enter your brain with seemingly no effort, where the information is distilled in a way that makes you feel you're just drinking knowledge, or the one who gives you the feeling that the knowledge is forced down your throat. I think we all agree. The less work we leave to the viewer, the easier it's going to be for them to understand what we are saying. This means the less work we leave them to create those connections, the easier it's going to be to follow and understand. But on the other hand, the less work we put in to make those connections for them, the harder they have to work to understand. And the feeling that you have to work for something, that you have to work to understand something, is not a very enjoyable experience. So we need to put the work for them to put less work. This is how we bring value to people. By laying down the foundation and connection of the core important information we are trying to teach them. And we do that by activating the neurons that are linked to the subject. By activating the right neural pathway in the mind of our viewers, we dig the hole of knowledge that will allow them to learn and remember. This is called priming the brain. We are going to put everything together into a simple framework in order to do just that. Priming the brain in order for people to understand. So you can see here, the framework is simple. You start with you open with a new curiosity loop, which is going to make people wonder about the subject. That is going to hook people into, yes, I haven't thought about that. So everything that we talked about the hook in the hook video, you can apply here to hook people into the new subject, the main point you're trying to make. Then you have the context. This is where you want to tell a story, give an analogy to activate those neurons that are those knowledge that the people know about, in order to lay the foundation, as I explained before, on the subject you want to explain. Then you move on to what you want to explain, and you finish with a punchline, a strong statement that summarizes everything to a key element. That's a simple framework that works very well. And what I found is actually this is about rewiring our brain to change the way we explain things. Usually when we explain things, we start by saying what we want to explain and then we give more detail in order to make it clearer. Here, this is the opposite. We need to put work in order to lay the foundation right and give what we want, give our point at the end. This is really a way to think about explaining things that is way different. What you want to explain should always come last. That's the key point. That's my punchline. But as I said, this is not about trying to remember the structure I've just shown you. It's about just rewiring your brain into understand how people learn and what an enjoyable learning experience is. And once you become natural at explaining things that way, you will be able to just explain things in an entertaining way without having to rely too much on scripting. And a very good TV show that I really like that do a lot of that is Suits. Generally, the character enter either in a courtroom or just to introduce themselves to another character, and they generally start with that. They lay the foundation with a story, a fact from a sport, and so on, just to activate, to make it interesting, and then they have their punchline of what they want to explain. There is a lot of that into this. So, coming next, I think I'm going to review some storytelling structure, because here I mainly talked about, okay, each point you want to make in your video are going to be like that. And if we come back, see here, for instance, the part that was learning, this is what I did. I scripted out with the structure, and so that was one of my main points. It's 3. But the idea is then you want to actually have the overall flow of a video. And the overall flow of video is you can use storytelling structure, and there are very effective tools to do that. So I think the next video we are going to do that. Then after is going to be the outro, and we will have done a first big round of everything we need in order to make great video. So we will then take a step back, rethink. I will explain to you what's coming next in the video series. Thank you for watching, and go watch the next video.